when she was a young girl, so she was raised there. When she was 18, she was at a fun fair and she met a man named Asim Maduni, who went by Sam. Sam was about 5 years older than her, and he was also French-Algerian. In 2005, when Sabrina was 22 and Sam was 27, they left France and they moved to London, where Sabrina worked as a nanny and a makeup artist. And this would lead to her meeting the right people who could open doors for her, and she became a very successful stylist and fashion designer. She was kind of a more soft-spoken woman, but she was described as being just glamorous. Sabrina and Sam had a bit of a rocky relationship. They were on and off for years, and in 2011 they broke up. So, that same year, Sabrina was at a bank in Notting Hill, speaking with the manager of a bank, and standing behind her was a man named Mark Walton, who was this famous singer from a boy band called Boyzone. And he also managed other bands. Like he was famous in the music industry. So the two ended up chatting, like exchanging information, and Sabrina ended up messaging him and asking him if he wanted to grab drinks at a bar. So he shows up thinking he's gonna date this beautiful woman, but actually so had a lot of other men. Sabrina had invited a big group of men, but invited them all individually to meet her at this bar to recruit them for a pyramid scheme. Most of the men thought they were there for a date, so when they realized what she was up to, they left. But Mark stayed behind because he was super into Sabrina. He even ended up signing up for this pyramid scheme, and she had lied to him, saying it would be £250 total, but it ended up being £800 plus other monthly fees. But Mark was a very successful man, and it seems like he was willing to pay this to get to know Sabrina more. And they really hit it off. They were spending a lot of time together, texting, calling each other. Sabrina really started to open up to Mark. They were sharing a lot of stuff about their lives, and one night she told him about how she was abused sexually when she was younger by 2 family members. And this made Mark really want to protect her, keep her safe. Sabrina loved Mark. They really cared for each other, although it seemed like he was way more in love with her and she was really kind of in love with his lifestyle. He was famous, he had a lot of money, he had a lot of connections in the music industry, and she began to dabble in songwriting. miscarriage. And Mark was heartbroken over this news. He was so excited about being a father, and he was worried about her, like she had lost this baby. It was like a late term spontaneous abortion or miscarriage, and he called Sabrina's brother to check in on her, to see how she was dealing with the loss of the pregnancy, and he was shocked when he found out she had in fact not lost the baby. She had had the baby. So even though there are all of these red flags, Mark stays with Sabrina. He loves her, and now he has a child with her. In August of 2013, things were really rocky between Mark and Sabrina, and he actually had to move out of the country for work. So he puts down a deposit for a flat in Southfield for Sabrina, and he pays her for 6 months' rent for her so that she could live there with their child. He wanted to make sure they were all set up and taken care of before he had to relocate to LA for work. Once he was in Los Angeles, Sabrina just completely stops talking to him. She stops returning his calls, like ghosts him. And he's pissed at this point, like he's sick of playing her games. He doesn't even know if the child is his at this point. And he's like, you know what, if you're not even gonna talk to me, I am no longer financially supporting you. She's just been acting insane. She's been lying to him, and like he's really doubting the paternity of the baby. So he stops paying for everything. Well, Sabrina doesn't take this well. She begins trying to ruin his reputation. She's like this crazy woman calling, trying to get in touch with all of his clients, anyone she knows who does business with him, spreading all of these really horrible rumors about him, that he is a pedophile, just all of these allegations. She even tried to file some police reports against him, but at this point he's living out of the country. But she's just spiraling at this point, just like throwing mud to try to see what will stick. And she's spiraling in every aspect of her life. So one day she goes in to buy groceries, and she goes to check out, and she hasn't brought her wallet with her. And she flips out at the store manager and begins screaming. Instead of being like, oh my gosh, I forgot my wallet, I'm so sorry, let me run back home and get it or whatever, it's like everyone else in the store's fault that she forgot her wallet. So eventually the police are called and she is escorted out of the building. She would lash out at her neighbors. She was just rude to everyone, like just insane. But around this time, she rekindles her relationship with Sam Madooney, and he moves in with her. Now, Sam made a lot of money, so he began supporting Sabrina, and he had always really loved her. And once again, this man is so in love with Sabrina that he's overlooking her crazy side. Like Mark, he stayed with her even after red flag after red flag after red flag appeared. He found out that she was cheating on him, and he still stayed with her. And it seems like she was still very much hung up on Mark, even though she is now living with Sam. She talked about him all the time to everyone. You could tell she wasn't over him, but she wanted revenge on him. She kept spreading rumors. So around this time, Sam and Sabrina decide to hire a live-in nanny to help with Sabrina's 2 children. And they hire a 21-year-old woman named Sophie Lionnet. 7th, 1996, to Patrick and Karen Lionnet. Her parents divorced when she was young, and her mother would go on to get remarried. Sophie was a very quiet and gentle girl. She loved to read, she played the guitar, she loved animals. She is described by her mother as selfless and generous. She always wanted to work with children, so after she graduated high school, she took a course on child care, and then she began looking for work as a nanny in London. She was so excited for this new adventure. She'd be able to work with children, which had always been her dream. She would get to move to London and improve her English. She spoke very little English. So, in January of 2016, she moves to London, where she officially becomes the nanny for Sabrina and Sam. And this seemed like the perfect situation for Sophie. She loved Sabrina's children, and they loved her as well. Like, there was just this mutual adoration for each other. Sabrina and Sam seemed like lovely people to work for. The neighbors in the London neighborhood said Sophie was very shy and very humble, but like just sweet and polite. She always had a smile on her face. And Sophie looked very young. She was 21 years old, but the neighbors who interacted with Sophie while she was living in London thought she was around 13 or 14 years old. They noticed how well she took care of the children, and just what a sweet girl she was. Sophie quickly became friends with some of the other women who were working as nannies in the area. She loved her job. At first, she was getting along great with Sabrina, so the first few weeks were great. But soon, Sabrina became more and more demanding, forcing Sophie to work 80 hours a week, but they were only paying her £70 a month. The neighbors soon began to notice that Sabrina was never around. She seemed to spend no time with her children at all. It was always Sophie who had the children, Sophie who did the crochet shopping, Sophie who did everything. Sophie began to lose weight, and she seemed to be struggling and very disheveled. She told people that, like, her mom wasn't doing well, so she was just upset. There was this store owner at a fish and chip store, and Sophie frequented it often, and the owner happened to notice that she, obviously wasn't doing well, and he asked what was going on, are you okay? And she told him that her mother wasn't doing well, and he had always thought she was such a sweet girl, and he felt so bad for her. She was obviously not eating enough, so he began giving her food, for free, and free drinks as well. And somehow Sabrina found out about this and flipped out and went into the store and was screaming and yelling at the store owner, telling him never to give her anything for free again. The next time the store owner saw Sophie out and about, he told her that he would pay for her bus fare back, or train fare back to France, so she could go home and live with her mom. He knew she was in a bad situation. ex-boyfriend. Sophie and Mark had never even met. They didn't even know that one another existed. Mark lived in the US now. Like, these people did not know each other at all. But Sabrina just had this like paranoid delusion almost that Sophie was involved with Mark and they were out to get her together. So anyway, she decided she was going to punish Sophie, and so she began denying her food, which was why she flipped out when the store owner gave her food. And this is when Sophie started losing weight very rapidly. Sabrina would scream at Sophie and accuse her of things, swear at her, call her names. And Sophie didn't know what to do. She was terrified. She was alone in another country. She didn't even really speak the language. Like, she was in a very bad situation. Plus, she was super shy and she didn't open up to people easily. When she would talk to her mom, she would tell her that she wanted to come home, but she didn't tell her what was going on. She just said that she was overwhelmed with the job and homesick. Her mother had no idea the horrors that Sophie was going through, so she kept encouraging Sophie to stick it out, stay in London, like, see this job through. But after several phone calls between Sophie and her mom, in which Sophie expressed her desire to return home, Karen, Sophie's mom, bought her a train ticket so that she could come home to France, and she mailed it to Sophie. But Sophie would never receive this ticket because Sabrina opened Sophie's mail, found the ticket, and threw it away. And once Sabrina realized Sophie was trying to leave, she stole Sophie's passport so she couldn't. Sabrina, again, is just going absolutely crazy. She was sure at this point that Sophie was letting Mark into the house while everyone was asleep, and that he was going around injecting everyone with heroin and molesting them while they were asleep. She's just completely delusional. So she completely stops paying Sophie. Like, she's giving her no money at all. And she takes her phone so she can't contact anyone. And I guess she would let Sophie call her mother using her phone, but she would stand right there so she could hear everything that was being said. And then they began, like, they wouldn't let Sophie leave the house at all. She was just being held hostage. When the abuse first started, it was solely just Sabrina abusing Sophie. But soon she somehow convinced Sam to help her, and he began physically abusing Sophie, hitting her, beating her. They would keep her awake for days at a time. They were waterboarding her, hitting her with electrical cords, torturing her to try to get a confession out of her about her relationship with Mark, which once again was not a thing. Mark and Sophie didn't even live in the UK at the same time. Like, they were never in the same country at the same time. Sam and Sabrina began recording the torture of Sophie, and the last 12 days of her life were actually recorded. These videos have never been released because they're just awful, but it has been said that Sophie is so skinny in them. She just looks awful. She had no energy, but she never fought back or spoke in the videos. But she could sometimes be heard whimpering, which just breaks my heart. police would end up giving a false confession to Sabrina, hoping to end the torture. Sabrina and Sam had been telling her for weeks to just tell the truth. If they said, like, if she confessed, then the torture would stop. So finally Sophie gives this false confession, and as soon as she does, they drowned her in the bathtub. On September 28th, several neighbors would call 999 to report that there were these massive flames that smelled awful coming from Sam and Sabrina's yard. The fire department was dispatched to the house, and Sam answered the door, and he's like, "Oh, we're just barbecuing some chicken in the backyard." But the firefighters insisted on being let into the property. They said that, like, the flames were too close to the neighbor's house, and they needed to, like, it was getting out of hand, they needed to put the fire out. So the firefighters go into the backyard, and there was actually this, like, little barbecuer with chicken on it. However, this isn't where the flames originated from. They were coming from this huge fire right next to the house. So the firefighters quickly extinguished the flames, and once they were out, they saw, like, some human fingers in the ashes. And Sam tried to explain this away, saying they were also barbecuing a lamb. They had bought a lamb and they had just thrown the lamb on the fire. But it was, like, pretty clear that these were human remains, not a lamb. There was also human clothing and jewelry, like, in this bonfire. So the firefighters called police, and soon 6 officers arrive at the home. The entire street was taped off as a crime scene, and they began to investigate. Sophie's body had been so badly burned it took 2 weeks to get an identification. The medical examiner was unable to determine a cause of death due to the condition of the remains. He knew there had been strangulation, there had been a major blow to her head, and it could have been drowning as well. Because Sophie had experienced all 3 of these, it was unclear which had actually killed her. They did determine that while she was alive, she had sustained a fractured jaw, 5 fractured ribs, and a fractured sternum. Her injuries were consistent with the injuries someone would get from a catastrophic car accident. And she had sustained these days before her death, meaning she had been in an excruciating pain her last days. Police found this little note hidden in her bedroom in which Sophie had written, "Why me? I need help to stop them." Sabrina and Sam were arrested for Sophie's murder. At this point, Sam will still do anything for Sabrina, so he tries to take the blame, kind of, and say it was an accident. He said they were trying to question Sophie about her affair with Mark. She wouldn't answer, that he just, like, put her head under the water a couple times to try to get her to tell the truth, and she died on accident. He said that he tried to revive her, but that he couldn't. But then a few days later, he retracted his statement and said, "Look, I was just trying to protect Sabrina. I had nothing to do with Sophie's death. I was asleep when Sophie died, and when I woke up, she was in the bathtub dead, and I tried to revive her, but it was too late." Sabrina, on the other hand, blamed Sam for the death. She said she wasn't involved at all. But they're both idiots, because they had taken videos of both of his cell phone had been confiscated by police, and they found these videos of the torture of Sophie, of her last 12 days on Earth, which was just filled with torture. And these videos would prove that both Sam and Sabrina were involved. Once they were arrested, there were court-ordered psychiatric evaluations done on both Sam and Sabrina, and it was determined that Sabrina had depression and a borderline personality disorder. She was not considered criminally insane, so she could stand trial. Sam wasn't diagnosed with anyone, but it is believed that he really did believe Sabrina's delusions. Both Sam and Sabrina admitted to trying to dispose of Sophie's body, but they continued to blame each other for the actual murder. But police had so much evidence on them. In May of 2018, after a 2-month trial, both Sabrina and Sam were found guilty of Sophie's murder. At the sentencing, Sabrina read a letter she had written to Sophie. So Sabrina wrote this letter to Sophie, the girl she killed. And it says, "Dear Sophie, may peace be with you. First of all, I wish to include Sophie and her parents and family members who are suffering badly, and I want them to know how truly sorry I am for what happened to Sophie. We shared many good times together as well as pains, until things went terribly wrong and it ended up in this horrendous tragedy. I think of you every day, and I am shocked and sad that you are not a part of this world anymore. It feels like a horrible dream to me, and I wish I could just wake up from it. Every day I live with sadness and sorrow. I am suffering every day thinking of you and what happened to you that dreadful night. I only wish I could turn back the clock so that it never happened, and you would still be alive with us today. I will now live without hope. I can't imagine ever being happy again. I struggle every day, and I am disappointed in myself. Sophie, I wish things could have been different, and I hope that you rest in peace with God." So after she read this in court, the judge, who was pretty mad about how this came out, was just like, "Hey, I'm super sorry what happened to you." She didn't really take responsibility for what she did. Anyway, the judge said in court, quote, "You are both involved in the torturing of Sophie in the bath, and that led to her death, and you made her think that she would be drowned unless she gave you the information that you wanted, which was not in her power to give because it did not exist. The suffering and torture you put her through before her death was prolonged and without pity. I do not think you thought for one moment you were acting lawfully. I am sure you knew your interrogation of her was unacceptable in the extreme, and it was unlawful to assault her, and that she was in a dreadful state by the time of her death, and torturing her in the bath was totally and utterly wrong." And then he sentenced them both to life in prison. Sophie's body was returned to her family in France, where she was laid to rest. Her family was completely shattered by her death, and her mother said, quote, "No one, no God, will forgive you both for what you have done to my daughter. You are equally as evil as one another." And this is the story of the murder of Sophie Lionnet. Thank you guys so much